Baseball Hell is a production of Monkey Butt Enterprises. No animals were harmed in the making of this podcast. Well, hello everybody. It's August 6th. Welcome to Baseball Hell. I'm here with Ward Davis. How you doing today, Davis?
Hello again, everybody. I'm doing well, Tommy. I'm doing well. And,
Glad to hear that.
yeah, everything's good. We got some baseball to cover, especially a big week with the Cubs Cardinals, but we'll get to that a little later.
Yeah, it was big for the Cubs. I don't think it was too big for the Cardinals,
Yeah, that's true.
but yes, we'll get into that a little bit later.
A little bit into that a little later.
How about those White Sox?
As we speak, and today is what, Tuesday, the 6th of
The
August.
6th, yes.
A happy birthday to my niece Megan today. And
Yes, we
yeah,
got the Sox sitting on 21 straight losses. They are
21.
nearing unprecedented territory.
During the modern day record, which was the 1961 Philadelphia Phillies, they lost 23 games in a row.
Okay.
But they are tied now with the 1988 Baltimore Orioles, and we were talking about this pre-show there about the fact I think that was that was 21 losses to start the season in
I
1988
think it
for
was. I
Baltimore.
think it was right out of the gate. And it's funny because, just a few years earlier, the Orioles were one of the top teams in the AL, right? They won didn't they
Yeah,
win the 1983 World Series? They
yeah,
beat the Phillies. So,
I believe that's
this must have
correct.
been
Yeah,
the transition from that team, which, it had been together for quite a while. Remember, they had like Al Bumbry and Rick
Harold Bunbury. Yep.
Dempsey and Rich Dower. Who else was on that team? They had an excellent team that had been together for many years. They were very good in the mid to late 70s and into the early to mid 80s. And then all those guys were gone by 88, and it showed.
Even the early '70s and Boog Powell
Baltimore
and
was good all through the late 60s and 70s. They were good every
yeah,
year, it seemed like, and
Boog
then they
Powell and
finally
Brooks
collapsed.
Robinson,
Yeah.
Frank Robinson. Yeah.
Jim Palmer, those guys. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Stan
They
the
had
Man Unusual. Remember that guy? Don Stanhouse? He was
yeah.
crazy.
Was it one of the early '70 teams? The Orioles had 4 20-game winners on their
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Who was the guy? Remember when they were in the World Series in the late 70s and in the 80s? Remember they had some guy who was their self-proclaimed mascot, and he used to stand on top of the dugout and spell out Orioles. Was his name
Oh
Wild Bill? Was that? Do you remember that guy? He had a
yeah,
beard. He
kind
was
of.
just a.
Yeah,
I think he was
yeah.
just a guy who would go to the park and drink 6 beers and then get up there and start spelling out
Just
Orioles.
just a fan.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Um,
The Marlins guy who's always behind the plate. I noticed he was at least one of those Cardinals. He was at the game of the world Sunday night, right when the Cardinals and
oh
Cubs were
yeah.
playing.
I
He's
don't really know
decked
about
out in
him.
his stupid orange decor, orange Marlins shirt, and he's got like a orange Marlins visor that he always puts on sideways. It's like, dude, you're like 55, 60 years old, and you are craving attention that badly that you have
Yeah,
to go to every game wear your bright orange Marlins decor, no matter who's playing,
yeah.
and put your hat on sideways to make sure that people are noticing you on TV. What is this
Yeah,
guy's mindset?
I don't know, Tommy. And it's for some reason that he's in touch with he must be in touch with the broadcasters because they had mentioned him and they had texted him or something for
Oh,
some
really?
information on that game on Sunday night. But I wanted to talk to you about some moronic fans.
Oh, yeah. It's a good segue.
Uh, yeah, I believe that. This is something that I've been thinking about, and I was going to touch on it a couple weeks ago or so, but we ran out of time. But there's a lot of fans that moronic, and I see them a lot up here in Chicago. And as a Cub fan, I think that I have to say that there's a lot of moronic Cub fans, and these are the ones I see. And
There's a
I'm
lot of
talking about
great
the
Cub fans that are, but
I'm talking about
there's that few. There's the few that try to ruin it for everybody else.
right. I'm talking about the generals, as I call them, the generals that are the guys. They think that they're some kind of a ballpark influencer or something. That they get up,
Yeah, yeah.
they get up, and it's like the second inning of a ball game, and there's two outs, and he wants to get the last out. So he gets up and he does the old waving the hands up in the air, like telling everybody else, "Get up, everyone!
Make
Get up.
noise.
Yeah, make some noise." Now, it's not the ninth inning with two outs. I can understand that. But it's like the
Yeah,
second inning, and the guy's up there like, "Everybody up! There's two outs here in the second. We got to support the team."
yeah.
No, no,
Well, Dave, if had he not done that, you wouldn't have known to get up and support
exactly.
the team.
Right. His whole purpose in life is to get, first of all, why are we listening to you? Why are we listening to this guy? He's the clown who everybody's supposed to listen to. And then you look at him and you think, I'm not doing what this guy says. Well, some people do, and then as soon as a couple people do, everybody else wants to see what's going on. He's blocked now. Now your view is blocked, and people have good seats. They've paid money for these good seats.
And you've encouraged him to do it again.
Yes, yes, and believe me, this moron will do it over and over and over during the game. Everybody up. The answer to him should be sit down. Everybody should just take his head and push it back down. That person should just be, that's the person that you should point out to the usher. There he is, moron. Get the moron out.
He just spit on me. Get him out of here.
Get him out of here. You almost have to get a first row seat so you don't have to miss part of the game just because some moron says stand up. All
Yeah.
right, here's the other moron, or there's a series of morons, and I think I've touched on this before. There's a little area around the around Cubs Park. It's called Gallagher Way. The only way to get into it during game time is if you have a ticket for the game. So the people buy tickets. They go, maybe go into the game. I'm not sure, or they just stand outside or sit outside, and they have
Yeah.
and there's a huge screen out there. You can watch the game. If you want to watch the game on a huge screen, go to your basement and watch the game there. And then some of these fans are like, "Well, I got my 2 year old and he likes to run around, and why are you buying a ticket for a ball game and not taking him into the game? First of all, you don't take him into the game; he's too young. You don't take him to the game at all.
You
You know,
covered that in a previous
yeah,
episode.
no cry, no babies, no none of that. So he's too young to go, and you've proven it by the fact that he doesn't want to go in. And then you walk around. But I've seen adults, not with kids. I've seen adults with 10-year-olds walking around out there, just walking around, and it should that annoys the hell out of me because why would you do this? If you want to go and take your 2 year old out, go to the park, go play catch with him. You know, watch the game. If you're not going to if you're not going to go to the game itself and watch the
Yep.
game itself, then there's no reason to go and buy a ticket. There was an area outside there where there was a bench. You didn't have to have a ticket. There was benches out there, and people were sitting there. They didn't buy a ticket. They can sit on it and watch it on the big screen. This is not a baseball experience. You're not watching the game.
Yep. Yep.
All
Speaking
right.
of moronic fans, you just reminded me that back when I used to go to the AAA Cardinal games when they were in Springfield, we talked about that before. We had a season ticket one year. I want to say we were in about the fourth or fifth row behind the Redbirds dugout, which it was good seats. But there happened to be a guy who had a season ticket who was directly behind us, and he was the loudest, most obnoxious fan you'd ever hear. And he spent every game, the entire game, screaming at the top of his lungs and mostly yelling at the players and trying to get them to look at him and listen to him like he was going to tell them something that was going to help their career. I mean,
He
I remember
knows
they
them.
had yeah, I remember they had a guy, an
The
outfielder named
coach.
John Scott. He was a center fielder. He played a little bit of, yeah, had a couple cups of coffee in majors. He never really made it big, but he was one of the better players on the team in the early days. And this guy, he'd be yelling every time he came in and every time he was going out. Hey, hey, Scotty, Scotty, hey, hey, and he had about 6 beers in him every night. Just
Right.
obnoxious. Yeah, and I mean, he was so loud that it actually hurt your ears to be sitting there in front of the guy. Anyway, but the thing about him, not very funny. Most of it was not very funny. But I remember at the end of the year they had these giveaway. It was a fan appreciation night, and they were giving away uniforms. That idiot won one of the uniforms,
Oh
so
no.
he ran down in the bathroom and put it on, and then came out, and then was out there yelling at him, standing there in one of the baseball uniforms from the
Oh,
Springfield
that is
Redbirds.
just
But anyway,
that's
and
disgusting.
he finally
We
did get
reward these people.
John Scott's attention, and I remember I'll never forget it. John Scott turned around and looked at him, and just he started laughing so hard he almost fell over. But yeah, but anyway, another moronic fan.
Another one I saw recently, a guy with his kid, and it was a couple of close calls. The guy was sitting behind home plate, and there were some close calls. Some are off, some are correct calls. But this guy immediately stands up, puts the hands out like, "What?" and starts yelling at the umpire. The quiet with the hands up, you know, huh? How's it?
How
I
can this
can't
be?
believe this.
How could you miss that call that I saw so perfectly from 300 feet away?
Right, and at an angle from behind home plate that this guy, there's no possible way. And then he starts yelling at the umpire. And then he looks down at his kid and he's smiling. Now the kid's up starting to yell. What kind of a moron is this? Who's yelling at an umpire in front of his kid and saying, "This is how you do things."
Yeah,
All right.
like father,
Uh,
like son.
yeah, and the kid's up, and now he's proud of his kid because and then he looks over his friend because his kid's up and yelling at the umpire, and he looks over his friend like, "Look at my kid."
Look, my kid's yelling at the umpire, and he's drinking beer. He's better than
Yeah,
your
that would
kid.
be nice. And if I got one more, Tommy,
Oh,
there's
good.
this whole thing with the snake cups that these
Oh
people
yeah,
have,
yeah. I saw that. I saw
and
that
I
going
started
on
to
over the
think,
weekend in Chicago. Now I've seen some pretty impressive snake cups at Soldier Field in the football games, where they're
yeah, and
they're they're extending a couple of decks up into the stands.
nothing says, "Look at me," because I'm not watching the game more than people who are doing snake cups. And here's the other bad thing about it. These people, I could see, they're scouring the area, and they're asking people, "You done with your cup? You done with your cup?" So they're getting other people's spit and whatever,
Yeah,
beer, the end of a beer cup, and they're getting it and they're putting it together with another person's spit at the end of a beer cup, and now they're handing it back to other people, total strangers. Here, let's make the longest one we can find.
that's yeah.
Now, wait, ask that person. Ask that person who starts this whole thing, and the people who are going along with it. Ask them how many outs there are in the inning and what the score is. They won't know.
Well, what if it's a really bad game? Would you condone the making of snake cups?
No, I still do not condone it because
No.
of the. I mean, and then they're handing it back to other people. Here you go.
You,
You know what I'd say? Somebody hands me back a snake cup. I'd say, "Don't fucking touch that. I'm not touching that shit."
you live by a pretty strong credo, Davis.
Yeah, strong credo is if you're gonna go to the game, watch the game. Forget the snake cups. Forget the standing up in in the second inning. Oh, everybody, and then why anybody would stand up because some other moron tells them to. In the
Uh,
meantime, because that moron told you stand up, and now half the people can't see the game. I can't think of anything dumber than that.
it's
The
the
Snake
age-old problem.
Cups. It's an age-old problem. The Snake Cup. You're handing it back. I'm seeing like 3 rows back. There's some guy holding the Snake Cup, and he's maybe thinking, I got to go to the bathroom. What am I? I take this. Hey, give me all the Snake Cups. I'm dumping them in the garbage. No, and you know what? I'm not even touching these things. You go throw in the garbage. There's another one the usher should throw out. The Snake Cup guy.
Think about the poor White Sox fans. They don't even have enough people in the stands to make a snake cup that'll extend more than 4 or 5 rows.
Oh, by the way, the White Sox. I don't know if we did discuss their losing streak, but they're playing the Oakland, and they lost to the A's last night.
What kind of a snake cup could they make in Oakland?
The
With
Oakland, yeah,
200 people
yeah.
sitting there trying to drink enough beer to make a snake cup.
It's just called a cup. It's just it's not plural. Uh, but the Sox have a chance tonight on August 6th. They have a chance
Oh,
because
do they?
they got a guy against this. They're going against Oakland, who's a bad team, and they're going against a pitcher who's 2-10 with an ERA of 5 plus something. So there is a
Okay.
chance tonight. But I tell you something, I still wouldn't bet.
Kind of like when the Cardinals go against Kyle Hendricks, it doesn't matter that
Right.
his ERA is 10 point something. He's going to shut him out for 7 innings.
And we'll talk about Hendricks a little later. He pitched a couple times this week, and
Yes.
We have the Hendricks meter, ERA meter too. We got other. So I'm done talking about the fans, Tommy.
Let's quickly cover the first series that the teams play, and then we'll get into that big weekend 4 game showdown that took place in Wrigley Field. So tell us about what the Cubs did.
They started in Cincinnati. They came into last week with a 51-56 record. The Cubs did. They go to Cincinnati, and game one was Monday, July 29th. Not much to talk about there. The Reds hit how do you say that, Tommy?
They tell me
Jameson.
it's Tyon. If you can
They
figure
hit
that.
him early and often. The Cubs only managed 3 hits. They lose 7-1. Not much to talk about there. Tuesday, July 30th, the Reds jump out to a 5-0 lead after two versus Justin Steele. So there's two top Cubs starters this year, and they they were hit early by the Reds,
They
early and
they
often. And then,
manhandled them.
right, Steele didn't pitch too well. And at this juncture, his record
Was
is
it a lot of home
two
runs
and
flying out
five.
of that park, or was it
Yeah,
just a lot of hits?
yeah, he gave up some hits. But the good news about home runs, I'm not really sure how many home runs he gave up. But
Yeah, because the ball
the good
really
news
flies
is,
at that park.
yeah. But who did hit a home run was in his return from a broken finger was Cody Bellinger in that game.
Bellinger,
He had
yeah.
a 2-run home run and he had 2 hits, and it was good to see him back in. But that was about it. The Cubs lost 6-3. Couldn't come back from that 5-0 deficit early. 5-0 deficit early. And then Wednesday, July 31st, Cubs try to salvage the series or to avoid a sweep, and they do. They score 13 runs. They get 17 hits, and they win 13-4. Kyle Hendricks gets the win against Cincinnati. He pitched 5 innings, decent ball, gave up 3 earned runs, and at this point, the ERA meter goes to 6.86 for him.
No way.
Yeah, and Ian Happ, he's from Ohio, and he kills the Reds. He had a single, a double, a home run, a walk. Bellinger had 3 more hits in his second game back.
Wow.
Pete Crow Armstrong had a couple of hits, got his 20th stolen base. Cubs looked good, winning that one 13-4 to go into that the next series. So the Cubs lose 2 out of 3 to the Reds in their series. How about
Okay.
the Redbirds, the
Okay.
Cardinals?
So, well, the Cardinals went into Monday 54-51. They're at home playing the world champion Texas Rangers. It's Andre Palante against Nathan Eovaldi in the first game. Top of the third, the Rangers score a run, get up 1-0. Matt Carpenter, in a rare start, hits a 2-run homer to put the Cards up 2-1. Things are looking good until the top of the fourth. Texas puts on 2 more runs, top of the fourth, and then adds three more in the top of the seventh. Another two-run homer in that inning. The Rangers are up 6-2. Cardinals had no answer for it. They picked up one run in the bottom of the seventh, but end up dropping this one 6-3. Palante takes the loss. He's 4-5. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 3 runs, all earned. He wasn't awful. He's got a 4.04 ERA, and hey, if that's your fifth starter, um, that's not so bad. But he was outpitched by Nathan Eovaldi. So Cardinals dropped this one. Now the second game, the Cardinals come back. They got their bats going. They win this one 8-1. Lance Lynn beats Max Scherzer. Scherzer takes the loss. He's 2-4. He only lasted 4 innings, gave up 3 runs. Lynn went 5, only gave up 1 run. Mason Wynn led off the game with a first pitch home run off Scherzer. That was his 7th of the year. Texas did tie it with a solo home run in the top of the second, but then the Cards started scoring runs and didn't look back. The best part of this game for the Cardinals was Tommy Pham, in his first at bat returning to the Cardinals, comes off the bench, pinch hit grand slam, his 6th home run of the
Wow.
year, and that put the Cards up
Welcome
big.
back, Tommy Paham.
So Cards roll. They win this one easily, 8-1. Largely thanks to Tommy Pham, who came out swinging. So game 3, Cardinals again come out bombing with the bats. They scored 3 runs in the bottom of the second, put on 5 more in the bottom of the fifth. They're up 8-0. They're going to breeze to a victory here, 10-1 against the Rangers. Notably, Michael McGreevy in his major league debut with the start for the Cardinals. He went 7 innings, only gave up 5 hits, 1 earned run. Struck out 3, no home runs. So he's got himself a 1.29 ERA. They promptly sent him back down to AAA. But
Was he's a prospect, or did they get him in any deals?
yeah, he was a Cardinal draft choice several years ago. I believe he was a first rounder. He has not developed as quickly and effectively as they had hoped after that early draft pick of him. But he did come in and pitch a good game here in his major league debut. He's another one of these pitchers that the Cardinals seem to have a lot of that don't strike out a ton of guys. It's kind of that pitch to contact philosophy that they're trying to get away from. But he did strike out 3 in 7 innings. And that's he's not a big strikeout guy, but he did pitch effectively, and they really needed him for this start, and he came through. So the Cardinals, Davis, really took it to the Rangers with the scoring 18 runs in the last 2 games. So they're going into Chicago. They're hot, right? They're ready to go beat on those last place Cubs, right?
That's right. They're ready.
Yeah, let's go. Let's keep this offensive machine rolling.
Right.
Um,
Well,
so tell us about what happened when they got there. First game.
yeah, I wasn't. Within the Cubs losing 2 out of 3, I wasn't too confident going into this series. Cubs came into it at this point then 52-58. The Cardinals were 56-52. So
Yep.
Cardinals were up by 5 games over the Cubs. But the first game on August 1st, it looked like the Cardinals were going to pull off another victory. They out hit the
Yeah.
Cubs, 12
Everything
to
was
nine.
going according to plan into the bottom of the ninth.
Had a 4-2 lead going into the ninth, and they scored 4 runs on 10 hits off of Imanaga.
Yeah,
So
Goldschmidt hit a home run. He got a solo homer, his 17th. And let's see, I thought they had one. Oh, yeah. Mason Wynn hit a 2-run homer off Imanaga in the top of the 7th. So that was his 8th home run. So they did touch Imanaga for 2 home runs during that game to get
two
that
home
4-2
runs,
lead.
10 hits in 6 and 2/3 innings.
Hey, chalk this one up as a victory, right, Davis? This one's
Well, who
over.
comes in? Who comes in? Your closer.
Helsley, it's over. Hell's bells.
I looked at it. The Cubs win percentage at this time was around 4%. And the first Cub made it out, and then so now 2 outs away. But here comes Bellinger back again, and he belts another home run.
Yep.
The Cubs are down 1, and there's still a chance, but
He gets the second out.
the second out, Paredes, they just picked him up. The third baseman, he makes it out. So there's two outs. And then Nico
Nobody
Horner
on.
gets nobody on until Nico Horner gets a single, and here comes Dansby Swanson. He's got two strikes on him, Tommy, two
Yeah.
strikes, and
I
he
believe he had him
clubs.
0-2 at one point.
He'd had him 0-2, and
And then that's when Horner stole second, and unwisely, Marmol decides to challenge, even though they knew he wasn't out.
oh,
He
that's true.
just,
Yes,
so here you got Helsley. Helsley's cooking, right? He's got Swanson 0-2. Swanson's
right,
perplexed. Marmol lets him have about a 3-minute timeout. Swanson gathers himself
right.
and gets to reset. And what happens?
Well, he clubs a two-strike double down the line.
Scores Horner,
He scores Horner.
ties the game. Yep.
The game is now tied. Fans are going crazy, 4-4. Do you think that break might have had an effect on Helsley? The challenge at second base, which it didn't look to me like it was much of a challenge after, because he didn't look like he was out.
No, it wasn't. And I think there was some of the announcers for the Cardinals were going, well, hey, why not use your challenge? You don't get to take it with you,
Right,
but it's like, no, you got a pitcher out there. He's got a guy 0-2. He's obviously in his head because he had him looking bad on the first two pitches.
right.
Don't give him a chance to gather himself and try to reset, and that's exactly what they did. I don't know that it bothered Helsley as much as it helped Swanson.
It might have. In those 3 minutes, he might have forgotten how to pitch.
Or Swanson forgot how to strike out.
I think that's more likely. He gets a double, ties the game. Here comes Pete Crow Armstrong. Whoa, hold on a second. Pete Crow Armstrong is not coming up.
No.
And I'm thinking to myself, maybe they ought to keep Armstrong in. The game's already tied. Armstrong hitting a little bit better, and he can beat out,
Yeah.
a lot of plays. But here comes Mike Talkman. He's going to pinch hit for Pete Crow Armstrong, and he gets two strikes on him. And Talkman has been kind of a thorn on the side for the Cardinals,
Yeah.
as we'll also
Ineffective.
see throughout the rest of the series. But he's been,
I think the Cubs missed him while he was out.
they did, defensively, offensively, and he has two strikes on him, and I think he might have gone to 2-2. And then he takes one the opposite way down the left field line for a double, just in the line for fair. Swanson scores, and Cubs
Game
come
over,
out
man.
would win this one off the Cardinals, or probably the best closer in all of baseball, with a three-run ninth inning. Cubs win five
Yeah.
to four.
That was a
And
painful loss. And can I make this prediction, my friend?
yes,
That is the loss that knocked the Cardinals out of the playoffs for 2024.
ooh, it's an early prediction for Thursday, for August 1st.
It ripped their hearts out. What little
Yeah.
heart they have. And I mean, the Cubs, the Cardinals, they both struggled this year, and neither one's a world beater team. I think you can argue that they've both been a little bit of underachievers, but no one expected either of these teams to be winning 90 plus games, right?
Right, but the Cardinals have been playing better baseball, and that one really stung when you start hearing at the end of that game. They had to be pretty stunned to hear "Go Cubs, go!" The fans yelling.
They had to watch that stupid bear go running across the outfield with that W flag. And then you hear that song, man.
Right.
That's brutal.
He had it. That bear, who their mascot, who had to run out to the field with the W flag. When it was a 4% chance winning earlier in the game, he'd already taken he was in the clubhouse taking his hat off,
Yeah, yeah,
and he was about to go sit on the pot for a little bit, and then all of
yeah.
a sudden they said, "Hey, they got a guy out
Hey,
there.
get back out
Get
there.
back out there." He pulled up his bear outfit, put his head
Stand
back
up.
out, and ran back.
He heard the guy in the stand say, "Get up."
Get back out there.
Yeah, no, that was the icing on the cake for me because I was sitting there already sulking, that they lost, and then the last thing I saw was that stupid freaking bear running out there with that flag,
With the
and I
W
was like,
flag for the
God
win.
damn it!
I quite enjoyed it myself,
I bet you did.
to be totally honest. So it goes into the next game, and we'll see how the Cardinals decide to react to
Yeah, they're
that
gonna
tough
bounce right
loss.
back. Hey,
That's what you hope
just
for,
one
but
game, right? Yeah, it's just one loss.
until the second inning of that second game, Friday,
Hmm.
August 2nd, and what did the Cubs do? They scored 5 runs.
Off of Eric Fetty in his Cardinal debut.
Eric Fetty comes in and brings that Chicago White Sox magic to the to St. Louis. Gives up 5 runs.
Yes, he did.
I think that was the only runs he gave up in about 5 innings. But
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately for himself and St. Louis, the Cardinals only had 4 hits all game. Assad was struggling. The Cubs pitcher was struggling. He pitched 4 innings, but he kept him in it. He gave up 3 walks and 4 hits, but somehow the bullpen was doing okay. And then late in the game, the Cubs were just walking everybody.
yeah.
Merriweather walked 4 guys. The Cardinals only had 4 hits, but they walked 9 times.
All three of the Cardinal runs, I believe, were walks, walks with the bases loaded. But that's terrible. I mean, a team's going to give you 9 walks. They're going to walk in 3 runs, and
Yeah,
you're only going to score 3 runs in that game.
yeah.
They went 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position, left 9 men on base.
9 men about. You only get 4 hits and you leave 9 on. That shows you a
Yeah,
lot about it.
yeah. So you
And the
had,
Cubs,
let's see, Bethencourt hit a 3-run homer in this game, and Bush hit a solo homer, his 14th.
Bethencourt, they had just brought him up because Tom Nito, who nobody wanted, and the Mets released, and the Cubs picked him up when they got rid of Gomes because Gomes was hitting about 150.
Yeah,
Amaya was struggling; he was hitting about 180. So they got this Nito from the Mets. They picked him up, and he's hitting about 150. And going into the game, I believe Bethencourt was hitting about 180. And so the Cubs catchers were doing nothing. Well, Bethencourt hits a 3-run home run in the inning.
yeah.
Miami had actually hadn't released him. They sent him to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, their minor league team, and the Jumbo Shrimp released him. It's
Wow.
one thing to be released by the Miami Marlins.
Yeah.
It's another thing to be released by the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. But the Cubs say, "Hey, we like
We,
shrimp. We'll
we
take
got
them."
a spot for you.
So that was it. The Cubs win that one 6-3. They're up 2-0 in the series, and on Saturday, August 3rd, the Cubs are looking good. They're looking like they might win 3. But what happens, Tom?
That was a crazy ending to that game. Now, yeah, there was some scoring early. Burleson hit a home run in the solo home run in the first inning, his 19th. Bush came back in the bottom of the first, hit a 2-run homer, his 15th. So the Cubs are up 2-1. Cubs add 2 more in the bottom of the second, so they're up 4-1. They're cruising. But in the top of the eighth, the wheels came off the wagon for the Cubs defense. The Cardinals get 3 runs. They all should have been unearned, but they didn't. They one of them was only one of them was officially scored as unearned, but there was a really bad throwing error by Paredes at third base that allowed
Right.
the first run to score. It also allowed other guys to get into scoring position, and they had second and third, and Nolan Arenado hit a little pop up that Swanson easily had caught. I mean, he was underneath it. It was a can of corn, and for some reason, PCA comes running in,
Yeah, and
and
Nico Horner at second base.
or was it
Too.
Horner? Horner that had
I
it.
believe it was Horner.
It
Yeah,
was Horner, but I mean, he was under it. He had it, 100%,
yeah,
100% catch. It wasn't going to be difficult. Nothing over the shoulder. Not even running anymore.
called it. Yeah,
And Crow Armstrong comes barrel assing in. Must have been yelling because Horner bailed at the last second. The ball drops, and the 2 runs score. And this is a
yeah.
4-4 game. All of a sudden, they literally were gifted 3 runs.
Armstrong said,
In that
"Hey, I know you have an easy out. Let me. I got it though, because I can make a possibly a sliding catch."
Yeah, yeah. He
What
came
is
running and he
it?
said, "Look at that snake cup." And then they both looked up
Right.
and the ball dropped.
they wasted a good effort by Tommy, what is,
Tyon went 6 innings, only gave up 1 run. Yeah.
didn't walk a guy, struck out four. Of course, then after that, it was tied, and then Neris gives up a run.
Well, it was
Neris gives up a run
Hodge
in the
that got
ninth.
screwed, though. Hodge is the one that
Yeah,
where the defense fell apart on him, and he gets charged with 2 earned runs out of that. And I mean, literally should have
yeah.
been 0.
Was there two? Were there two outs at that time?
Yeah, yeah. That pop up that Arenado hit, yeah, that would have been the third out. Yeah.
And it would have been only 4-2.
Arenado, and it didn't even end up on second base. He was just loafing it out because he's like, oh, yeah, I'm out. There was no chance. This was not one of
Yeah,
those no man's land pop ups. It was bizarre to see happen.
yeah,
But anyway, yeah. So then in the top of the ninth, everybody's favorite ex White Sox Tommy Pham leads off with a triple. Hap almost made a fantastic catch on that. He
yeah.
he had it. It went off his glove. So Pham leads off with a triple, and I told you about Lars Nootbaar. He comes up, promptly gets a sacrifice fly, drives in the run. Cards are up 5-4. Here comes Helsley. Can they get him again? The answer is no. He gets his 34th save, pitches a clean inning, and Cardinals luckily walk away with this victory. And that had to
Oh
hurt
dear.
from the Cubs' point of view, just probably almost as bad as the Thursday night game hurt from the Cardinal point of view. Although the Cubs actually earned the victory on Thursday. The Cardinals, I can't say earned that victory. The Cubs just
Right, that
gave it
pop
to them.
out, that should have been a pop out that ended up scoring a couple more.
And Paredes shouldn't have tried to launch that ball from third like he did. If he just would have, either held onto it and ate it, or not tried to make a miraculous throw, because I think
Yeah,
it was a fairly speedy run, and he wasn't going to get him anyway, and he throws it into right field. That set up second and third.
and that was one of those things where the Cardinals were trying to say, we're not going to provide much offense here, and the Cubs said, we'll help.
Yeah,
Wait, the Cardinals are like, we're trying to make outs with people on base. Don't you understand what
yeah.
LOB means, left on base?
We're trying to race you to the bottom of the standings, and you're not helping out, guys. Come on. Yeah.
Well, that means the Cubs are up 2-0 going into games four of the series. Sunday, August or 2-1, Sunday, August 4th,
And
and
this is the ESPN Game of the Universe.
that's right, a Sunday night game.
Miles Michaelis versus lefty Justin Steele. And what we've seen chronicled this year is the Cardinals uh, cannot hit lefties, and it's gotten worse as the season has progressed.
Yes, Justin Steele looked good. Pitched 6 and 2/3 inning. He did. The Cardinals did go up 2-0.
Mason Wynn, another home run. Yeah, he had a 2-run homer. He's got 9 now. You know what? That's pretty good. Rookie, not a big guy. Was not known for his power, although they did say he had some pop in AAA, but he hadn't really developed his home run swing yet. Nice to see him knocking a few out of the park here at the major league level.
But the Cubs scored two in the fourth off of
Yep.
Michaelis, and they had a few other guys on when they took Michaelis out. But or I guess was that the fourth or the fifth there? But they
I think Michaelis pitched. He might have pitched. No, he didn't pitch into the fifth. I don't think they
yeah,
brought
he
in
threw a lot
John
of
King,
pitches. He threw a lot of
and
pitches.
yeah, King gave up a solo home run to Tauchman, and
I
that made it
told
three to
you
two
about
Cubs.
Talkman.
Togman and thorn in the side for the Cardinals. And then Amaya, that's another guy. He, much like Pedro Pajes only hits against the Cubs, Amaya seems to only hit against the Cardinals.
Well, he's been hitting against a lot of people lately. He's doing well.
Really?
They changed his stance. They worked on his stance, and they worked with him. And I guess he was doing a little high kick, and they dropped that. We said,
Mm,
don't do that. And lately, he's been hitting. He's up around the 250. It's better than 185, but he's up about to 215, 216
okay.
now, and he's showing a little bit more power, a little more pop in his bat. So he's
Well,
looking
that
good.
was his fourth home run of the year, and that put the Cubs up 4-2. And then they tacked on 2 more in the bottom of the sixth, and this one was over. The Cardinals had nothing for Justin Steele. They just, I think, he's 6 and 2/3. They had 3 hits off of him. Wynn got the 2-run homer. Other than that,
Right.
they were just lifeless.
Yeah, and he picks up his third win of the year. I mean, he's pitched a lot of good games. He has 3 wins,
Yeah.
but the bullpen holds on, and Talkman a double homer, like you said, and
Suddenly, the Cub bullpen is unhittable.
yeah, and gave up the runs only with because of the bad
The bad
defensive
defense.
plays.
Yeah, they shouldn't have been. They got charged with two in the previous game. That shouldn't have been on them. Um, but they were saying the stats that since I think since early July, the Cubs bullpen is one of the top in the major leagues after all the troubles.
And by the way, Talkman, the double and a home run that game, he ended up starting for Hap. I think when Hap tried to make that play on Paham in the ninth in the previous game, I think he hurt his shoulder a little bit.
Oh, Hap got hurt
He's okay though. But he was supposed to start on Sunday, but he's okay. So Talkman goes in for him, and
and takes care of business.
Hap usually does well against the Cardinals too, but
Yes.
Talkman does just as well, and he proved it, a double and a homer. And Cubs take 3 out of 4 in this series. Now, if you told me before the series started the Cubs are going to win 3 out of 4, I would have been pretty happy about that.
Hmm.
But the fact that they could have won all 4 with other than for bad play in the eighth and ninth, especially the eighth inning of the other game. I think if they made those plays, I don't think there would have been any life left in St. Louis to go
Oh
into
no, no,
the ninth inning
they were
down.
ready to lose.
Yeah, but so it does leave a little bad taste winning 3 out of 4 when you know you should have
Could
probably
have
won
had that.
4.
Could
But
have had the slap in the face 4 game
yeah.
sweep up at Wrigley.
So there you have it. The Cubs pick up 2 on the Cardinals.
Speaking of injuries, you noted that Hap kind of banged up his shoulder just a little bit, but Lance Lynn, after the 8-1 victory against the Rangers, where he pitched 5 innings and got the win, he went on the injured list, 15-day injured list with knee inflammation. So
Ah,
that is a little scary for the Cardinals. And Lynn's been pitching pretty well lately. Not too bad. And the other injury that's impacting the Cardinals, Mike Ciani, who had been playing so well. In the last 30 games, I believe he was batting 300.
wow.
Of all people, this is a guy who they didn't know if he'd even bat 200, but he was in there because of his great defense, and they all said, as far as center fielder stats, defensively, he was tops in the majors. So to get any kind of production out of him, he doesn't have any power, but if he can get on base, he's got a lot of speed. But anyway, he pulled an oblique. Cardinals lost Lynn and Ciani. Um, so it's a
Oh,
good thing
wow.
they picked up Fetty and Pham because those guys are going to
Yeah.
be in there.
Oh, my goodness. Well, yeah, I didn't know that. And Tom, you mentioned, we were talking about fans earlier. You mentioned at that ESPN game, the game Sunday night, that there was a fan who was there.
The Marlin
We were
man.
talking about that. Yeah, I had no idea who this guy was, and I don't even know if we should even give him airtime. This guy is a
Well, there's nobody listening, so it's not like you're going to promote him and pump him up too big, Dave.
You know what? You're right. So, who is this clown anyway?
Uh,
He's got. I was thinking, who's this guy to come Cardinal game in Miami
Bright
Marlins outfit?
Orange. He is some kind of a lawyer from the Miami area. He's got money, obviously,
Uh,
and he's able to jet in and get premium seating behind home plate in all
uh,
kinds of network
just to get on
televised
TV.
games. Yeah, I mean, have you not noticed him before? I see him all the time. In the postseason, he'll be at all kinds of games.
I see. Yeah,
Always
I
decked
kind of
out in this orange Marlins outfit.
I kind of remember it, but I just didn't know he was a celebrity or a self-made celebrity.
No, I think he's
But
another wants to be an influencer of some type. I don't know. Remember the guy in the '70s, Davis? That I think it was a black guy used to like paint his hair like rainbow, like a rainbow spray paint in his hair, and he was at every sporting event. Remember that guy?
yeah,
He was
every big
crazy.
sporting event. Yeah, yeah.
Somehow he would get on the camera on anything. It didn't matter if it was a baseball game, football game, NBA game. I remember him at a lot of NBA games.
Of course, there's always Ronnie Woo Woo, the Cubs guy, dressed up in the Cubs whole uniform.
Was he the guy from my AAA Redbirds experience? Maybe, perhaps he
Oh,
graduated and got called. He got called up to the majors.
Ronnie Woo Woo. He was a
Ronnie
bleacher
Woo
bum
Woo.
supposedly in the '60s, '70s, and now he's just a celebrity. He's still around. There was he just goes around saying Cubs woo, Cubs woo,
There
Cubs
you go.
woo. So they
See,
call him Woo Woo,
now that's how
and
you influence.
that's
Not
how you
not
influence it.
yelling at people to stand up.
Right? You just yell at people. You just keep going woo and annoy everybody.
Speaking of the woo, remember there was another phenomenon, an unfortunate phenomenon that was taking
Yeah.
place at a lot of baseball games the last couple of years. I haven't heard it so much, but especially in a park that didn't have very many people in it, and you'd hear people going woo,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
woo, like
yeah,
super loud, and it would just be echoing through. They'd get right under the broadcast booth, and there's only like 1,200 people in the stadium, and you'd hear this
yeah,
some idiot
yeah, yeah,
screaming
yeah,
like,
yeah.
why don't they walk that guy out of there?
The old
Don't
Comiskey
let him
Park,
do
they
that.
had, yeah, the old Comiskey Park, they had a guy dressed up as a clown. Andy the Clown, I think his name was. And he'd be yelling down there.
No relation to Dank the clown.
No, I don't think
Dank
so.
the clown.
I don't think so. But yeah, Andy the Clown. And then I remember
Yeah.
going to Cleveland Municipal Stadium, and they had a guy out in center field, and the entire game, and that was a big cavernous stadium, and there wouldn't be anybody there. So it would just echo throughout the game, and all they did was just play that drum, boom, 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 the entire game.
Yep. Yep. Does he still show up at the Jake?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was the War Drum. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of goofy self-proclaimed mascots. What about the Jets guy, the New York Jets guy?
Oh
He
no.
wears like a fireman's helmet. He comes out
Oh
there
God.
every time he's all dressed up.
Yeah. And
And
the
you got
people were painting their faces and their
The Raiders,
bodies.
the black hole guys. Yeah, yeah.
What is this thing? You paint your face and your butt. You go to a game, you take your shirt off. It's about 30 degrees or 20 below or whatever. You take your shirt. Look at me. I'm pretty tough. No, you're not. You know who's tough? The guys out there in the field. Put a shirt on. We don't want to see it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine getting up in the morning?
Got to get ready for the game, honey. Got to get my face on.
Yeah, and you got to buy into this. It's part of the marriage, you know. You just say, honey, did you get the spray paint?
Where's my big D and that picket fence, cardboard picket fence that I bring to every game? What'd you do with it?
Where's the,
I can't go without my gear.
honey? I can't find the D. Just take the fence. I
Just,
can't
I
go.
can't just do
Just
fence.
I can't just go there with fence. It's a it's not even says fence. It's just a fence. People will know what you mean. Just say D and put the fence out thing on.
Yeah.
Oh, you imagine you're the player down there and you're like, oh, it's third down and two. What are we gonna do here? Look up there, Jim. There's a guy with a D and it's some kind of a wooden thing. What is it? I don't know. It looks like some kind of.
What's he trying to tell us?
Oh, you know what he's saying? That's four, and then the slash through it. That's five. D5. It's a Roman numeral. It's a. I can't tell what the hell that is. Meantime, the play's going up. They're looking up in the stands trying to figure it out. And they've blown right by the defense. And
Oh,
oh,
that's what he was saying. Yeah. So this whole back to the baseball stuff.
oh,
This whole disappointing Cubs Cardinals series from the Cardinals' point of view, of course, where they got beat 3 out of 4 up in Wrigley Field and should have lost 4. Like I said, I think they basically got knocked out of the playoffs this weekend. Because at the time of this recording, they also played on Monday a makeup game against the Mets where they completely laid an egg and got beat 6-0. I mean, it was one of the most lifeless performances I've ever seen out of the team. So it got me looking ahead at next year. And the Cardinals have a Nolan problem, Davis.
A Nolan problem.
A
Tommy, what do you
Nolan
mean by
problem.
this?
Yes. Nolan Gorman, in the last
Oh,
2 months, has uh, barely 400 OPS. He has a 47% strikeout rate versus
oh
a
God.
2% walk rate, and he's
Oh,
batting
that's
under 200. So this guy's on base percentage is less than 200, and he's slugged about 200 in the last 60 days.
Tommy. How do you slug two? You have 19 home runs and slug 200.
Yeah, well, you stop hitting home runs. He's
I see.
probably hit one in the last couple of weeks. Now, that's part of the Nolan problem. The other part of the Nolan problem is Nolan Arenado. Nolan Arenado, the last 2 years, is not the player that he'd been. I looked up his contract today because I was thinking they had one more year with him.
Yes.
He is under contract through 2027, Davis. They
Oh
got
my goodness.
3 more seasons of Nolan Arenado as the third baseman for the Cardinals, making a lot of money, tying up a lot of money. And beyond that, I didn't know about this. Through 2041, he is going to be getting deferred salary payments of between 2 and 3 million a year. So from
Oh my.
2028 through 2041, he's making either 2 or 3 million a year during that period of time from the Cardinals. And they're going to be paying him big money through 2027.
That's why they got him fairly cheap at the time, possibly,
And
right?
the Rockies paid a big chunk of his salary the first couple years. His total
Oh,
compensation for a couple of those years was like 35 million. I
wow.
think he made
Now,
35 last year.
now is your first baseman Paul Goldschmidt, who they kind of came in as a team and they played together for a while. Is he also is he only under
So he's a free
contract?
agent after this season, and I was thinking for sure they'd let him go. They're talking about they're still talking about trying to re-sign him. However, I was also
Oh,
reading some fine print about the contracts, and I guess there's something in the players' agreement in the contract that says if you sign someone if you give someone an extension before their free agency, you're only allowed to offer them 20% less than what they're making now. And I think he's making like 25 mil a year. So you're not going to offer Goldschmidt 20 million to come back next year. So they
I
have to
see.
let him go to free agency. They have to let him, declare free agency and then try to sign him on the open market if they want him back. I mean,
Make a qualifying
I
offer for him and then get a
yeah,
draft compensation, maybe.
yeah. If they
Uh,
lose him, they'd get some kind of draft compensation. But you know, his offense is down. He's still only got about a 670 OPS. He does have 17 home runs. The only reason really that I'd want him back would be to play against left-handed pitching and for his defense because he still really is very sharp with the glove over there, especially scooping out bad throws. He's
yeah,
fantastic. They will notice very significant performance degradation at first base if they have Burleson over there, which they probably will. And he'll be adequate, but he's not going to be Goldschmidt.
I thought they had a slugger coming up in the minors at first base, playing first base, but
We
who
got this guy
knows? You
Luken
know.
Baker sitting down there, sitting on 27 home runs, and he's a right-handed batter, which they claim they so desperately need. They've got this completely left-handed outfield with Ciani, Burleson, Donovan, and Newtbar, all left-handed batters who are struggling to hit left-handed pitching. Burleson's not hitting left-handed pitching very well. He's crushing right-handed pitching. So
Hmm.
he may end up being ultimately a platoon player. I could see them trading Newtbar and Gorman because they got this left-handed lineup is not working. They're getting killed by left-handed pitching. They're very vulnerable to left-handers out of the bullpen. They got to decrease the left-handed count. You can't have a completely left-handed outfield, in my humble opinion.
The Cubs will have a little bit of a question mark. What are they going to do with Cody Bellinger? Now, Bellinger has an opt-out clause. He can opt out, or he could accept, the second year of that contract, but it's only 2 years. And he's been
And
productive since he's come
isn't
back.
it like a 10 million? I'm trying to remember
The
how
opt
much
out to pay him
the
off.
option
No, I think it's more like 20
is.
million.
That much?
I
Because
think
didn't
so.
they sign him for? They re-signed him for a pretty reasonable amount, right? I can't
I
remember.
thought they got him for like 20 million
Yeah.
a year, but he has an opt out to go out 20 to 25, but I think it's 20.
Is he? He's a good player. He's got some defensive flexibility. Good all-around player. But is he
Left-handed
that
bat.
good? Is he that good that you got to pay him that kind of money?
No, and I think the Cubs would say if he said I'm going to opt out, they'd say all right. All right. The Cubs have a lot of good young players in the minor leagues that they think they want to bring up, so I don't think they bring him back. If
You
he's
got Bush on
the only
first
way they bring him
base.
back, you got Bush on first base, but they've got several
They got Crow
outfielders.
Armstrong in center,
They got Crow Armstrong in center. They've got some outfielders. They
Suzuki in
have Owen
right,
Cass. They have Owen
and
Cassey.
Happ in
They've got
left.
yeah, Owen
What's
Cassey. They've
Happ's
got.
contract?
I think he's good through another year or two, a couple years. He just signed a couple years ago, I think. I'd have to look at the contract. Maybe we can get into that next week. I'm not really sure. But the Cubs have some youngsters like Alcantara and Owen Cassey and in the minor leagues and uh, the guy they had up earlier, Canario, and like you said, they've got Happ and they've got Suzuki. So I think it's all up to Bellinger. Do you want to come back, or do you think you can get more? I don't think he'll get more than this 20, 20 whatever he's getting from some other team, but he might.
Can the Cubs opt out of it? Is it a mutual option? Because they might want it. They might say, I don't. We want to cut that payroll because we're going to have Crow Armstrong play center. We're going to have Bush on first. We're very
Yeah,
happy to have Suzuki and Happ in the corners.
yeah.
I don't know.
So
Spend that
I
money
would
on
think the Cubs
a
would say,
pitcher or a bullpen. Bolstering the
yeah,
bullpen.
yeah. I would say the Cubs would say, well, if he wants to go, they'd be like they'd be okay with it. They'd be fine with it.
Mm.
Those youngsters weren't ready this year, so he was good to bring back this year. And the only way to do it was to give him an option for the second year. But
Speaking of youngsters,
anyway,
Victor Scott is back up with the Cardinals since Siani got
oh,
hurt. They
oh,
brought Victor Scott, another left-handed outfielder.
maybe the Cubs could make a little deal with you. Maybe Suzuki can go your way, and
Yeah,
uh, red-handed
yeah,
bat with a little pop, and a pop and a drop. Every once in a while, a drop
there you
ball
go.
in the outfield, and a pop. Every once in a while, a pop. Every time he does, every time he does drop one in the outfield, he gets a home run and drives in runs. The rest of the game, the same
It
game.
fires
So
him up. He gets motivated when he drops a fly ball. I got to make up for that F up. But what was funny was during the series this weekend, several times the Cardinal announcers were referring to, what a fine defensive outfield the Cubs had. Well, of course. I mean, Crow Armstrong in center and Happ is really good in left. But
yeah.
they were saying, and that's Suzuki. He's real good in right too. I'm like, have you seen the films of him dropping routine pop flies? In critical situations.
Yeah.
Uh, you
Yeah,
know,
he isn't bad. He gets a good jump on the ball and drops, and I mean, gets a good jump on the ball and then cuts the balls off and is able to throw it into second.
yeah,
Keep a single, double to a single, and
the capabilities there for whatever reason he seems to just lose concentration once in a while on a
uh,
routine play. It's
and and
it's
they've
really
and they've
weird.
hurt him. They've hurt them. Hurt it badly. So I feel like Tommy, my rant about moronic fans. I feel like I'm sounding like an old man here. And
Yeah.
hey, we're getting a lot of calls here. Joe, our producer, you're getting calls about this, so all right, this is good.
Yeah. We love to hear from the fans.
What are they saying? They're pretty much saying you're a jerk.
All right then.
How you feeling, Joe? How you feeling? Not very good. I don't know what's with me. I'm getting. I'm
Looks
sick
like
in the morning.
you gained a little weight.
Yeah, I feel a little bloated. My belly's a little up a little bit, so
Hmm.
I don't know. I'll have to see what's going on. Uh, we'll see.
Okay.
I'm gonna go see my doctor. I called someone. Somebody referred me to somebody. OB something.
Hmm.
So
Okay. Okay. O'Brien, Dr. O'Brien.
I don't know, OB, and then some other last name. I don't
Okay.
know.
All right. Well, Joe, you take care. With that, I think we're going to wrap up this episode. I want to thank folks for listening. Check us out on Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Go back into the archives and listen to some of the earlier episodes if you so dare. Many of them are much better than this one. So I'll encourage you
But
to
this
go.
one is pertinent for this week.
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
Dun,
So with
dun,
that, I think we're going to wrap up for this
dun,
week,
dun, dun,
and we'll
dun,
say
dun,
goodbye to
dun,
the
dun.
fans, and we'll invite you to say good night, Davis.
Good night, everybody. So long, Katie, my niece, Katie Rose. Ta ta for now.